John Miller, a 68-year-old retired banker, had only one son, David. John loved Christmas more than any other day of the year. Every December, he would decorate his small house with lights, bake cookies, and wait eagerly for the day his family would gather. But this year felt different. David had grown distant. He had a new job, a busy life, and a family of his own. Still, John believed Christmas would bring them together. One week before Christmas, John called David. "Son, what time should I come over on Christmas Eve?" John asked cheerfully. There was an awkward pause, then David's voice came cold over the phone. "Dad, I don't think this here is a good time. We're kind of busy. Maybe you can just stay home." John froze. His hand trembled as he held the phone. "Stay home? You mean you don't want me there?" "Don't take it personally, Dad," David said. "We just have other plans. We'll talk later." The call ended. John sat silently in his empty living room, staring at the Christmas lights he had just hung. His heart ached, but he didn't say a word. He smiled bitterly to himself, grabbed his car keys, and whispered, "All right, son. Merry Christmas." That night, John made a decision, one that would shake David's world. The next morning, John woke up early. Instead of feeling sad, he felt strangely calm. Years of working in the bank had taught him one thing: silence is more powerful than anger. John had been paying the mortgage for David's house for the past 5 years. When David bought his dream home, he couldn't afford the monthly payments alone, so John stepped in. Every month, without fail, John covered the bill. David never worried about it. But now, as John sipped his coffee, he thought, why should I keep paying for someone who doesn't even want me at his table? He opened his old leather notebook where he kept every receipt, every payment record. Then he called the bank. His voice was steady. "Hello, this is John Miller. I'd like to stop the automatic mortgage payments for account number 5478. The woman on the other end confirmed. "Sir, are you sure? This will leave the account holder responsible for the payment immediately." "I'm very sure," I replied. After hanging up, John didn't feel guilty. Instead, he went shopping. He bought a small Christmas cake, a single candle, and some wine. He decided this year, Christmas would be quiet, but peaceful. That night, as John decorated his lonely living room, he whispered, "Let's see how long it takes for David to notice."
Christmas Eve arrived. The streets outside John's house glowed with lights. Carolers sang cheerful songs, and neighbors gathered with their families. But inside John's home, there was only silence. John set the small cake on the table, lit a single candle, and poured himself a glass of wine. For the first time in years, he was spending Christmas alone. He thought of the years when little David would run around the house, tearing open presents, laughing at silly jokes. Those memories warmed his heart, even as they stung. Meanwhile, in David's luxurious home across town, the celebration was in full swing. David, his wife Emily, and their 2 kids were opening gifts beside a tall Christmas tree. David didn't even notice that his father hadn't called all day. But John didn't call. He didn't text. He didn't even send a card. He just enjoyed the quiet evening, smiling to himself. Late that night, after finishing his wine, John whispered, "Merry Christmas, son. I hope you enjoy it while it lasts." The next day, while David was still busy with family brunch, an email from the bank arrived. It said, "Your mortgage payment for December has been missed. Please submit payment immediately to avoid penalties." David frowned, but ignored it. "It must be some mistake. Dad probably handled it late," he told Emily. John, sitting in his armchair, simply sipped his coffee and waited. 2 days after Christmas, John woke up to a quiet winter morning. He made coffee, opened the curtains, and watched snow falling gently on his driveway. His phone buzzed. David was calling. John didn't pick up. He let it ring until it stopped. Then another call, and another. By noon, there were 5 missed calls. By evening, there were 12. "What's going on with him?" John muttered to himself with a sly smile. Meanwhile, across town, David was pacing nervously in his kitchen. He had just spoken with the bank again. The representative told him, "Sir, the automatic mortgage payment linked to your father's account has been canceled. You are now responsible for this month's payment." David felt his stomach tighten. The payment was due immediately, and he didn't have the extra cash. Christmas shopping had drained his savings. "Why would Dad cancel it now?" Emily asked, confused. David snapped, "I don't know. He always pays on time. I've been calling him all day, but he won't answer." That night, John turned off his phone, poured himself another glass of wine, and whispered to the empty room, "Patience, son. You'll learn." By the next morning, John checked his phone. 18 missed calls. John spent the next few days in peaceful silence. While David's frantic calls kept coming, John chose not to answer. Instead, he wandered through his attic, dusting off old photo albums. He sat in his favorite chair and opened a worn leather album, pictures of David as a little boy, wearing oversized Christmas sweaters, holding gifts bigger than himself. John's eyes softened. "I worked so hard to give you everything," he murmured to the empty room, "and now I can't even sit at your table." Meanwhile, David's stress grew unbearable. The bank warned him about penalties if the payment wasn't made within 3 days. He called John again and again. 27 missed calls now. Emily finally confronted him. "David, what's happening? Why would your dad suddenly stop paying? Did you say something to him?" David avoided his gaze. "I just told him not to come for Christmas. I didn't think he'd take it personally." Emily looked shocked. "David, he's your father. He's been paying our bills for years. How could you do that?" David slammed his fist on the table. "I'll talk to him. He has to fix this." That evening, John drove to John's house unannounced. He knocked hard on the door. No answer. He peeked through the window and saw the living room lights on, but John sitting calmly, reading a book as if nothing was wrong. David called out, "Dad, open the door!" John didn't even look up. After several minutes of knocking, David gave up in frustration. John turned a page in his book and whispered, "Still not ready to listen, are you, son?"
David couldn't sleep. The bank had given him a final reminder. Payment must be made within 48 hours. He called John again. "Dad, please pick up. We need to talk. This is serious." Silence. David visited John's house again. This time, he waited outside in the freezing cold for an hour, but John didn't open the door. Inside, John sipped his tea calmly. He wasn't being cruel. He was teaching his son a lesson in respect. That evening, David argued with Emily. "We're going to lose the house if Dad doesn't pay," he shouted. Emily snapped back. "No, David, you're going to lose the house if you don't pay. He's your father, not your bank." Word spread among relatives. John's sister called him. "John, why aren't you helping David? The kids need a roof over their heads." John simply replied, "He needs to learn to value family before money." Meanwhile, David's children overheard their parents fighting. "Why is Grandpa mad at us?" the little one asked. Emily's heart broke, but David stayed silent. The bank added late fees. David borrowed money from friends, but it wasn't enough. He swallowed his pride and decided to try one last time to meet John face to face. David banged on John's door late at night. This time, John opened it. "Dad, what are you doing? Why did you stop paying the mortgage? You're ruining everything," David shouted. John stayed calm. "Sit down, David." "No, you owe me an explanation." John's voice turned firm. "I owe you nothing. You told me not to come for Christmas. You didn't want me in your home, yet you want my money in it?" David froze. For the first time, he realized how much his words had hurt his father. John poured 2 cups of tea and sat across from his son. "Do you know why I paid for your house all these years?" he asked. David mumbled, "Because you wanted to help."
No, because I love you, John said softly. But love is not a bill you can send once a month. It's respect, kindness, presence, something you denied me this Christmas. David's eyes welled with tears. Dad, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. You didn't mean it. You meant every word. You made me feel unwanted, John continued. I'm not punishing you, David. I'm reminding you, family is not a transaction. I will not pay a cent until you understand that. David begged, Please, Dad, I'll lose the house. John shook his head. You'll lose much more than that if you keep living this way. David finally broke down. I was wrong. I took you for granted. I treated you like an ATM, not a father. John put a hand on his shoulder. Then change. Show me you mean it, not with words, with actions. The next morning, David brought his children to John's house. They decorated the living room together, shared breakfast, and for the first time in years, simply spent time as a family. Emily hugged John and said, Thank you for everything you've done. We should have invited you first, not last. John smiled. This is all I ever wanted. Not your gratitude, your presence. David called the bank and arranged to pay the overdue amount himself. John quietly watched, proud that his son was finally taking responsibility. On New Year's Eve, John decided to restart the mortgage payments, but this time he told David clearly, This is my gift to you, not my duty. Never confuse the two again. David promised, I won't, Dad. I'll never let you spend another Christmas alone. That night, they all gathered around John's little Christmas tree. The room was filled with laughter, music, and the warm smell of home-cooked food. John whispered to himself, Lesson learned.